kids. I'm Miss Pat. Want to let you know I think about you all the time and miss you guys. I'm looking forward to being back at Sunday school at Unity Church with you sometime soon. But in the meantime, we're going to keep doing these Sunday school lessons on Zoom here for you so you can see a lesson and hear a story and all that. Keep things going. And today, our lesson is about possibilities. And you remember when we used to go in the class and we had our affirmation up on the chalkboard? Well, this week our affirmation is, in each moment, there are infinite possibilities. Let's say that together a couple times. In each moment, there are infinite possibilities. One more time. In each moment, there are infinite possibilities. Do you know what infinite means? It means unlimited, endless. So if you can count to 20 or 100 or 1,000 or a million or a gazillion, it's more than that. It's more than you can count. It never stops. That's infinite. And that's how many possibilities there are in the world, things that we can do. It's infinite. And if we tune in to what God wants us to know and learn, then we have really wonderful, infinite possibilities from God, and anything can happen. Anything is possible. So that's good news, right? This week we got a story about a famous farmer named George Washington Carver, and his parents named him after George Washington, the first president of the United States, but their family name was Carver. So that's how he got his very interesting name. And he was a very brilliant man that studied all about farming. And so I'm going to read you this story. It's called God's Little Workshop. Have you ever eaten peanut butter? Think about a peanut butter sandwich, or perhaps you like peanuts sprinkled on your ice cream. Peanuts are nutritious and they're used in cookies and other foods. Can you imagine making laundry soap from peanuts, or hand lotion, or printer's ink? What about shoe polish, glue, carpet, all made from the peanut plant? Pretty surprising, huh? You may not be able to imagine making those things from peanuts, but there was someone who did. He believed there are infinite possibilities even from peanuts. His name was George Washington Carver, and he was born a slave during the time when most Black people in America were slaves. And while he was a baby, the Civil War ended, and then he was free. His parents were no longer living, but the people who raised him were loving and kind, and he learned a lot from them. George loved to learn, and he found great joy in learning about plants. Many hours were spent in the woods each day, studying all the growing things and listening in his heart to what each of them could teach him. George felt the Spirit was talking to him through the plants. When he grew up, he said, "I love to think of nature as unlimited broadcasting stations through which God speaks to us every day, every hour, and every moment of our lives, if we'll only tune in and remain so." So it's like tuning into the radio station. You know how you could turn the dial and tune in and find one station and turn it some more and find another? He thought we'd tune in to listen to God's voice and get new ideas that way. And I have found that to be true in my life too. George's neighbors and friends thought tending to flowers and plants was a foolish waste of time. So George made a secret garden where he could care for his little plants he called his pets. He would carefully dig up plants and move them to his garden if he thought they needed extra care. If he accidentally broke a root or a stem, he would cry as if he had hurt a close friend. He loved his plants. When people realized the plants he cared for grew healthy and strong, they called George the plant doctor, and they would come from miles around to ask him for help. He wanted to keep learning, but there were no schools nearby, so he left his home when he was 11 years old to go to school. Even though some people thought he should become an artist or a singer, George eventually became a plant scientist, which is called a botanist. He spent as much time outside in nature as he did in the laboratory and the classroom. George understood that it was not enough to work hard. He had to be open to what could happen through his efforts. So what about those peanuts? Why did George learn so much about peanuts? Well, the southern farmers had grown cotton plants for many years, but growing cotton every year was not healthy for the soil. Growing beans or peanuts gives tired soil the nutrients needed to stay healthy. And George encouraged the local farmers to grow peanuts, and it worked really well. The soil became healthier and there were abundant crops. We know what that means, right? Abundant, lots and lots of crops. But when the farmers asked George what to do with all those peanuts, he had to think. So now they had a ton of peanuts. And what do we do with all those? He knew there were many possibilities, maybe infinite possibilities, if he were willing to work hard and let God's power flow through everything he did. He said, God is going to reveal to us things he never revealed before if we put our hands in his. The peanut is an unusual plant. Peanuts are really not like nuts that grow on trees. They're not like pecans or walnuts. They're more closely related to beans. And the plants have little yellow flowers that bloom and bend over and grow back into the ground. The peanuts grow on the end of that stem under the ground, hidden from the sun. George worked a long time in the laboratory to learn everything he could about the unusual peanut plant. He shared everything he learned with the farmers and other scientists, and he became famous. Years later, after George had discovered over 300 uses for peanuts, a man asked, Dr. Carver, how did you learn all these things? George answered, from an old book. What book? The man asked. The Bible, George replied. The man was surprised and asked, does the Bible tell us about peanuts? No, sir, George explained, but it tells about the God who made the peanut. I asked him to show me what to do with the peanut, and he did. George never took credit for all his accomplishments. He said, without God to draw aside the curtain, I would be helpless. George felt that it was divine power that flowed through him and all creation. George was a great scientist who changed the world with his work, but he was humble and called his laboratory God's little workshop. Isn't that cool? I think that's a great story. I had heard about George Washington Carver before, but I didn't really know all that about him. And I think that's really pretty amazing that he was able to create 300 different products from the peanut plant. And it just goes to show you that if you put your heart into a project, anything that you feel a lot of love for and that you want to make something special, and you ask God to help you do it, he will, and you will make something special. So we all have that power with God who lives within us for infinite possibilities in our lives. And just think about that this week and think about something that you might be excited about learning more about, and just put your heart into it and ask God to show you the way, and he will. So that's our story for this week. It's really good to see you all. I wish I could see you like you can see me, but I see you in my mind's eye. You're right there. I see all your sweet faces, and I miss you. Gonna see you soon. I'm sure it'll all get back to normal pretty soon. And so let's close today with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Be well, kids. See you soon. Bye.